So the talk title today is Unbounded and Unstoppable. And today you have with you this sheet. And I'm going to go over all of this. You can fill it out today. You can take it home or just read along with me at times. But this is for you because we're going to talk about what I call the creative process. Yes, please. And we have new pens. If you don't have our new pen, we have a new pen. If you need one of these, let us know. But I'm not going to go through this item by item. It's really for you to use if something comes up and you're sparkled by, oh, I need to do that. All right, so in Science Mind, this is kind of how they talk about unbounded, unstoppable. It says, when we know our divine connection with Spirit, we can realize the truth of who we are. Today, as we seek to move from a place of unlimited potential, we operate from holy boldness and know that there are no bounds or red lights in Spirit. It's kind of cool. I like that. No red lights in Spirit. By the way, hi, everybody online. Thank you for being here. We get a pretty good crowd online, so you'll get to see most of this, so you can take some notes online. And if you want the information, just email me and I will send it to you. But not right now. Okay? So I want to talk just a tiny bit about this. The tendency is God never stops us. We stop ourselves. We have it up here. We have this conflict going on that we stop ourselves from doing what we think should do. Or maybe asking just the question. How many of you are in conversations and you want to ask the question, but you're like afraid? You know what I'm talking about? We go, no, I can't do that. I can't say that. Am I going to rock the boat? But sometimes we have to, and it's about how do we create that environment where we can ask that question. Now today we're going to talk about a gentleman that I really admire a lot, and you're going to see some of the pictures of him, but he created this. Isn't that an amazing picture? Yeah. Just an amazing picture, and I saw that, and then I saw what he had written along with this picture. I thought, I got to combine these. So this is actually out on Instagram right now. And you may not be able to read the words, but here's what it says. May we continue to remind one another that we are born of purpose, that we are the manifested form of an inspired idea. With this as your heritage, begin now to welcome in the already existing consciousness elements of an inspired life. Trust your heart. It already knows what to do. It already knows what to do. And I think that picture is just so amazing because it's like, this is life. We're springing it forth. We have the opportunity. The heart knows. And now it's about us. How do we activate that? So today I'm going to start my talk with a story about a man. And the person who wrote that, his name is David Alt. David Alt is a minister. I think it's Reverend Dr. David Alt. But he doesn't go by that anymore. He goes by David Alt. David Alt. You guys know who he is?
I've heard the name.
He's a pretty amazing guy. Anyway, David was the senior minister at Atlanta Center for Spiritual Living. That's David up there. Now that's in his younger years. He now is all white. His hair, his beard, everything. But he's a very talented young man. And so I'm going to read his bio because it's important and it's very short. And there'll be pictures that'll go along with it. But I want you to get to know who this guy is because we're going to talk about his process of going from a senior minister to something else. Okay, so David Alt is a visionary leader in the human potential movement who has been promoting mindfulness, global literacy, and social justice for 30 years. He has traveled the world as a teacher and a heart-centered guide with the sole purpose of bridging our collective forgetfulness into our greater collective reawakening. You get that? He's very deep, okay? He's an award-winning author, leadership and personal coach, and global education advocate. He exemplifies his motto that people would rather see a lesson than hear one. That's pretty amazing to think. See a lesson than hear one. So today you're going to see and hear a lesson because this is something that we do all the time. So I want to introduce you to the other side of this amazing man. Oops. Where is it at? Oh, don't tell me it didn't. Well, I didn't show you that. Well, okay.
Describe it.
Well, I have this picture of him with about 100 kids, and he's jumping up and going. I don't know what happened to that slide. And he's doing this, and he's laughing. He's just an amazing guy. Let me see if I can, see if I can show you. Get that up. I will be. Isn't that amazing? That's the other side of this man that I think is just incredible. Technology, don't you love it? And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But he's the founder of Kaleidoscope Children Foundation, a nonprofit organization that empowers vulnerable children and communities worldwide with sustainable education, life skills, and fresh water. Since his inception, more than 20 years ago, and I remember when he began this, because I was around that time, hearing about him doing this. He has, I won't give you all the names of the city because I can't pronounce them all, but basically in India and Guatemala, in Africa and the United States, he serves over 1,000 children annually. So he goes to these different countries and he creates, education, fresh water. They didn't have fresh water. I remember him creating the fresh water for someplace in India. Pretty amazing. And I want you to get who this guy is because something really important happened to him. Here's the second picture about him. He's a traveler. David's also an avid adventurer. He likes hiking the Inca trails, ruins of Machu Picchu, trekking across the country of Spain. He just did the Camino. And I can remember him doing the Camino, and I'm sending him money because he's collecting money, not for himself, but for his children. What he does is he gives it away. And he's also summited the Kilimanjaro in Africa. The other thing he does is he leads groups. This is the other great guy. I love his t-shirt. It says, I think that's love, isn't it? Peace. Is that peace? I am peace, okay? So he regularly leads groups in sacred site journeys, service trips, and constantly marvels at the wisdom gained through culture immersion. So how many people have traveled outside the United States? So you know what that's like when you are, or even a different state. If you've been to another state, it's a different culture. So he's done all this, and he thrives on getting people to see other people in different ways, and yet knowing we're all the same. That's what he thrives in. And the last part about this, as a respected teacher, writer, and columnist, David is the author of the bestseller, Where Regrets Cannot Find Me. I like that. And the multi-award winning The Grass is Greener Right Here.
Yeah.
And currently he lives in Atlanta. So I'm going to tell you a little about David and why I admire him so much. I met David about 10 years ago, I think it was, and it was at a conference in Seattle. This is only for ministers. The conference was only for ministers who had been in the ministry for 5 years. And I was one of those people that went to that. I won't tell you what I did there, but I will tell you what he did there. Anyway, we had to do this exercise called Speak Out Truth. In other words, we had to speak about our truth, what was really going on with us. And if you're a minister for 5 years, there's a lot of stuff going on for you. Okay? Anyway, David, when it was his turn, he said something, and now he's a seasoned minister, he's been there for 20 years. He's very successful. But he said something that made all of us go, whoa. What he said was, he was burned out and unsure what he wanted to do next. Now, we're young ministers, right? And we're like, oh, great. Just what we have to look forward to. Right. Now, I've been doing this for 16 years. And the one thing that I learned from him, and I've learned to do here, and that's why you don't see me every week, is that we all go through the same phase. We go through the burnout. We go through the I don't feel very creative time. And we go through this thing of I'm not sure what my purpose is as a minister. Now, that's not bad. It's just an awareness. But part of my way of managing is to let other people grow beside me, with me, so that they become more than they can be, and I get to rest. I've been doing this from the beginning of OM, because that was the only way I could do it. So I never really got to talk to David directly about this, but you can get the idea, his inference of what he went through, and how. And I'll just say this: it tears your heart apart as a minister when you know you have to leave. You know it's your time. I mean, I've watched many ministers do this. But he also knew there was something greater that he had to fulfill. He had a bigger purpose. It's like that first paragraph. He had a bigger purpose in life. What is he going to do? And there was this yearning. We all know what a yearning is, right? I have to do more. I have to do more. And so he had to let go of one adventure that had had its conclusion to create a new adventure. And this takes soul searching. It is not an easy process. And many of you have already gone through this. So as I'm talking, I don't want you just to think about my story. I want you to think about yourself. Have you gone through that? If you have, you know what I'm talking about. So David began what I call the creative process. That's what this is, okay? And today we're going to use, and I've not done this before, we're going to use this symbol. Everybody says, what the heck is this? And I want to give Brenda credit for this because, I don't know, how many years has it been? 10 years at least?
10 years maybe.
At least 10 years that her and her husband took a singing bowl that somebody had broken for me, and I just handed it to her. I think it's when we moved here.
Yeah,
Almost.
you said, I can't throw this away, just take it, do something.
Do
and
something
I had
with it.
for a long time before I
Yeah, so maybe it's about 9 years, 8, 9. We've had it since we've been here.
Beautiful.
Anyway, actually, this is.
Or our other center.
It was at the other center, yeah.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Yeah. So they created this for me. And I've never talked about it. So today you get the first beginnings of this. And I've had to think about it for a long time. So we're going to talk about the symbol. And these are real railroad ties, by the way. And they are plated with gold fleck, gold leaf, one at a time. You guys did an incredible job. So, and I called them, the way I described them is these are shooting out from the symbol. Shooting out. And this was from my house, which I have to take back. I can't break it because it belongs to somebody else. So, yeah, it's very Harry Potter. It's true. I hadn't thought about that. I should go get my Harry Potter outfit. That's right. So, what's cool about this, and I use the word cool because I'm a baby boomer, is that metaphysically, this represents the process that we all go through, but not always consciously. Okay? So, I'm gonna go give you a summary, then we're gonna go right into it and see how it actually works, okay? The inner core, all of this right here, is called the creative process. The creative process. This is how everything is created. Now you're like, okay, sure. Everything that you see in this room, the clothes that you have on, the piece of paper that you have, the tiles, the glass, the lights, was created in the creative process. That's how infinite this is. And as a religious scientist, I know you know that. Why is that important? Because everything starts there. Everything. And I can't emphasize it enough. The thing is, we think that when we're creating, it's like, oh, I got an idea, I'm just going to go do it. If you really want to have a successful creative process, there are things you have to do in the process of doing that. So I'll explain more as we go along. The inner circle, which is this part here, we'll call that the inner circle. That just represents God. We have somebody come in the door. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what that's about. So, I'm sure they'll figure it out. So, it's it's God, it's everything. And this is just symbolizing. Now, all of this comes from Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of religious science. So, this just represents God being everything, okay? I mean, if I can't make a circle big enough, because it's all encompassing. The outer circle, which are the nails, I'm sorry if I put my back to you, is just, in my opinion, the representation of either expansion or retraction or confusion. Or confusion. Ah, we have somebody coming in. All right. Just bring right down the center aisle. Hi. I talked to her on the phone. Come on in, honey. All right. So to have an effective creative process, we have to believe in something. So you can take out your sheet, and we're going to talk about things we have to believe in on the front page. Now, when I say we have to believe this at the core of our being. It's not about, oh yeah, I believe that. It's really about, is this really true for me? So the first one is we're a child of God and deserving the kingdom of heaven right here, right now. And if you don't believe it, it's okay. I'm not here to compete with your belief system, but I want you to know if you want to do something in the most creative way, this is what you want. And maybe you have a different name for God. Maybe it's infinite intelligence. Maybe it's energy. Maybe it's Allah. I don't know what your name is, and it's not important. The name is not important. But you believe that there's a higher power somewhere that's supporting us. So that's number one. Number two, we are all creative and free to create our heart's desire. Nobody's stopping you. Where's that one sign that says something about it's only ourselves that put ourselves in a little box? We're stopping ourselves. Nothing else stops us. We are what we call co-creating with the divine source, or we're in partnership with something greater than us. So it moves through us, in us, and as us. But it's a co-creation process. It's not about, I'm doing it on my own. That's our ego when we have that happen. But we're creating with something that's greater than us. What we want is realistic. So if I said to you, tomorrow I want $1 million, is that realistic? No, for me it's not. I don't want $1 million tomorrow. I might want 100,000. But in fact, I can remember, I totally remember when I said to myself, I want to make X amount of dollars. And it seemed like I was always missing it, as a career. I wanted to make so much money. And when I just said, God, this is really what I want to get over this mark. And you know what I did? Because I was focused in on this is what, and God's my source, and I'm going to do it. I wasn't looking at it from I can't have or limitations. It was more of this is where I want to go. And I've never gone back. We believe possibilities are endless. There's so much out there. It's an abundant world. It's an abundant world. We heal false beliefs along the way. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we heal those old beliefs that don't serve us anymore. The reason why we do that is if we don't heal them, we can't really go forward. What happens is when we don't heal a belief and we think, oh, I got the whole thing, we go into a circle. We go into confusion. We go into a place of why am I stuck? All right? We look for demonstrations along the path. Now, when I say demonstrations, we'll call it results. Demonstrations is a science of mind term. But we're looking for the activity of God along the way. This is critical because what happens is we start going through things, and if we don't know how we got there, scientifically, how we got there, we cannot recreate it. So we're looking for the activity of God along the way. And the last thing that I think is most critical, and it's on your list, is that God is our source and supply, and there is sacred knowing deep within us. We are always supported and guided along the way. I can tell you in the creation of Om over the years that I've had this feeling like, it's one of those feelings of, well, am I doing the right thing? And I would just stop and I would say, reveal to me that which I need to know. And a phone call would show up, somebody bring in a donation, I would, something would happen that would tell me this is the direction you need to go. And so I was in co-creation, and I have always been in co-creation, even with Om. Now, here's the catch with all of this. If we are not in alignment with the possibilities, that list that I just gave you, I'm asking you to find a practitioner or a minister that will help you get in alignment. Because if we're not in alignment, what happens again is that we get into chaos. Because we're fighting against our psychic, our inner core, our soul, and we're not going to move forward. Or not as fast as we could. So get help if you're having trouble. And you can ask me, or you can ask the practitioner. What we do is try and speak the truth until the truth is revealed. And I'll get into that a little bit more. All right, so you have a worksheet. Inside that worksheet, there is a symbol. Is this helpful?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because everybody how do I create this? How do I do that? Well, this is how you do it. And I expect to see you out there creating like crazy now.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about David. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what this symbol looks like. This is this one right here. Okay? All right. So Ernest Holmes was pretty amazing in the sense that what he did is he tried to make it so people could understand how it all works. It's kind of like planting a seed. When you plant a tomato, what do you get?
Tomatoes.
You don't get oranges, right? You get tomatoes. But it's plant, soil, seed. Plant, water it, soil, get it wet, then it grows, it becomes the plant, okay? Seed, soil, plant, sorry. All right, so the first part, all of this up here, all of this area right here is what we call the God space, the infinite intelligence space, the inspirational page or part of the circle. It's where you get your inspiration from. And some of it is from your own experiences, some of it's from your readings, some of it's from your own psychic knowing, some of it's from spirit that just moves through you, okay? So it's a combination of. The middle part, all this in here, which includes that little part of the V, is your belief system versus the truth. Okay? How are we responding to the infinite wisdom, or are we reacting to our ego? Is our ego taking over? We just need to know it. It's not about it's right or wrong. It's about just being aware. And this actually is where the work is done. That's where we have our issues. That's where we have the trouble. And then the bottom is the thing we want to have or experience. And then the V stands for the activity of God idea moving into form, and then coming back and recycling itself again. It's as simple as that. Now, it sounds simple, but do we do it? We think we do it, or we don't. We get caught up somewhere. So let's take Reverend David's process of creating a new life. Now, before I do that, I want to show you what he did create. So you have the answer of what he created. And then what we'll do is go back through the very first step he had to make before he could create any of this. And you're going to see something pretty incredible. And I don't mean to point this at you, okay?
Sure, Harry Potter.
Here we go. Put your hand out. Just kidding. So this is what he created. He created live online classes. He created writings. He does blogs. He created actually videos of things that he does in the world. He's a coach, so he coaches ministers and other people. He creates events that are worldwide. He has a podcast. He expanded his nonprofit, and he made a place for people to donate. Now I show that to you because that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Every single thing that's up there, everything that's up there, he had to do the creative process with. Now, he maybe had this overall view. All of that was up here. Okay? But there's a lot here that he had to work through. So we're going to now talk about the very first thing he had to do before he could ever do that. All right? What was the very first thing he had to do before he could even get started on that? Well, that's true.
Turn it over to God.
That's true. He had to replace himself in his very successful church. Oh. Because he had to let that one go. That doesn't mean that he doesn't go there and he doesn't talk or he doesn't visit them or do anything. But he's part of the congregation now instead of the person standing up here talking, except on occasions. So he had to find a replacement. Now I tell you this because a thoughtful minister will go through this process to make sure that it's a good fit. How many people have been through churches where they've replaced the minister? It's hard. And I mean, I've gone through several of them, and I've seen them succeed and fail. Because if they don't do this properly, people just go somewhere else. They want to spend their energy someplace where they're not really either appreciated or noticed or whatever. We're going to go over 10 minutes.
Just do my job.
That's fine. So, here are the ideas. Here are the God ideas that I came up with just this morning, okay, or yesterday. Find a good fit, someone with excellent skills, leadership, confident, has good people skills, and the list goes on. So that was the first God idea that he had to do, all right? How do I do this? The middle was who, what, where, how much money is this going to cost, the interview process, the congregant approval, how much involvement did he have to be in the transition, when to depart, or are there other options? So he had to look at all those different things here and answer them, find the truth, find the thing that really worked. Now I tell you this because we tend to skip over this. We tend to skip and say, oh, well, it'll work out. Well, it does or it doesn't. The more you work on it, the better it will be. And the last part was finding a minister that would be compatible for his congregation so that he was confident that when he left and did the other purpose in his life, they were happy and they still loved him. Very important to a minister that loves doing this work. The truth is, it all worked according to his belief. And he did find a replacement, Reverend Dr. David Alexander, if you've heard his name. He's big in the whole community. So Ernest Holmes says this. He says, the only reason a person is limited is that they have not allowed the divine within them to more completely express. We get stuck in the middle of this. So as we get closer to the 4th of July, can you believe that?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. It's middle of the year. It's hot too, so you're in the right place.
That's right.
Yep. I want us to remember two things. Here's the first one. Freedom is a divine quality of God. If you'll notice, it's right up there on that big poster. It's a quality of God that represents free will, independent expression, creativity, and liberty. Full freedom means no outer or inner restraints. If you're feeling some kind of restraint, keep working with a practitioner, somebody that can help you feel free. And it might take a little while. Don't be afraid of it. The thing is, if we experience limitation, then we have to go back into our spiritual practice. Now, what is spiritual practice? It could be journaling. I'll tell you one of mine in a little bit. Talking to somebody, praying, meditating. I can remember when I went through a really rough time as I was a ministerial student and I was letting go of a business. And I actually had somebody who worked for me that I had been giving them half of my paycheck so they would stay, and they ended up taking my business. So there's a big betrayal there. So I had a nice little journal. It was a comp book, that little book. So I would write on one page every dirty word I could think of. Yeah, I'm human, all right? In fact, I talked to somebody on the phone, and they goes, "Oh, you swear?" I said, "Yeah, of course." But I would write all the bad things that I felt, get it out of my system, and then I would write a prayer. And the prayer would say, "I know and accept that X, Y, Z, da, da, da." And I have no remorse against that person. In fact, many years later, I'm at UCLA, and they're in the same elevator as me.
And there was what?
Same elevator as I was.
Oh.
And they apologized.
Wow.
And I said, "You had no choice. You had no choice, but you had to do what you had to do." And what I got to say to them is, during that time, I had to protect you because I was closing the business. So it's all divine timing here. It was divine right action, even though it didn't feel very good that they stole my business. But it was really the right thing that had to happen. The second thing is this. Do you like my stories?
Yeah.
Good, because they're real. The second thing is, let us proclaim we are unbounded and unstoppable now. Now is our time to have our own Independence Day and claim freedom and liberty from our limitations and obstacles, whether internal or external. Today is a time of personal reckoning with ourselves to stop selling ourselves short and imposing our own restrictions. Today, our time is to realize that God, we are unbounded, unstoppable as we allow ourselves to be, do, and have what our heart creates. And that was created by the lady who wrote part of this talk. We have to feel that God is our source. We are unrestrained, we are liberated, and we are lifted and ready to take anything on. Because when we do that, something really important happens to us. Well, let me just say this. I have so many really important points to this. When we see that this is really working in our lives, we start to see that the creative process is really working on our lives. And we automatically, this is just a byproduct, we automatically feel confident and we have more conviction. Confident and more conviction. And here's what this really means. And this is, I don't know if I put this on your page. I did not, but this is really important. This means we're in alignment with our intuitive senses. Everybody know what I mean by intuitive senses? That means we're paying attention to that still small voice. You can even turn it down more, right?
Turn it down.
Yeah. To that still small voice, we're paying attention to that. We're listening to the guidance along the way. We are headed in the right direction because we see this is what's transpiring. We're aware of when and if we need to regroup. How many here have been in a project, any kind of creative process, and you realize, oh, it's not working, what do? We have to recreate. We have to regroup. We have to listen to this middle part and say, what do I do about that? How do I get through that? I like this one. We left fear and procrastination at the door. There's one person that comes here a lot that I love dearly, talks a lot about procrastination. And I'm like, you know what? If you're procrastinating, that means you're not ready. That's all it is. It's nothing else. Somebody, I think it was Sylvia said this, we're in the rhythm of the dance of life. We're in that rhythm. We're moving. We feel empowered. When we're empowered, we're in the right direction. And we really start to believe this stuff works. How many people are really familiar with Science of Mind? They're really familiar. So you know what I mean when I say we really realize this stuff works, because we're seeing it. Okay? But it takes bravery. You have to be brave to do this. Being in this particular faith means you have to have, you really have to believe in the unseen. Do you know what I mean by that? And you have to have strength and conviction and confidence in yourself. And they wrote down, and yes, holy boldness to do anything. And today I've given you the method. I want to say something about this little part here. Doesn't matter what religion, what faith, what philosophy you follow. I think it's a process. It's not something you get overnight. So what I'm giving you today are just the little parts that pull it all together. And so wherever you are is absolutely the right place. So I'm not trying to make somebody out to be right or wrong, but I want you to realize that you're in the right place and just take some of these ideas and start putting them into what you want to create. Okay? Over time, I can remember when I first started as a practitioner, they'd always say, well, how much are you going to charge? Well, I wasn't very confident back there. I think I started at $20 for an hour. Over time, that's changed. I don't even say what I'm going to charge anymore. I let the person decide what they're going to pay. Because hopefully what I'm offering is something that's bigger than money. And I can just say that I've been taken care of very well. God is my source, and I know that. Eckhart Tolle said this, and I'm going to preface this that, well, I'll say something afterwards on this one. It's an interesting statement. To know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain, is freedom, salvation, and enlightenment. Use of the word underneath is kind of strange for me, but I think he's just trying to give it classifications, you might say. It's just really saying every part of that is all connected, and that we're actually all of that. But just knowing that we are connected to the thinker, to the stillness, to the love and the joy, makes us very powerful. And we have those tools. So has this been helpful today?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So here's what I'm almost going to make. I'm going to be 12 minutes instead of 10. We have a time limit. I'm going to leave you with a question. And the question is, what is God calling to your heart? What is God calling to your heart? That's where you want to go. It's not about me telling you what to do. It's about listening in here. I've given you the method, I should say. So I'm asking you to go forward with it. And then I'm going to quote Joel Osteen. You'll love him. I want you to watch how God moves in your favor. He loves that word. And how God fills your heart's desire. That's all I want you to do. Watch how it happens. And if it's not happening the way you want it to happen, then it's time to do what? Regroup. Regroup, that's all it is. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. There's a reason for you to do everything you've had to do, but it's time to regroup. So we're going to do our affirmation today together. I haven't done that in a while. And then I'm going to pray us this whole talk into the week. And then we'll bring back Cahill and Delane, okay? You ready for that? All right, so if you can, I'd like you to stand. And this is the affirmation. We do it 3 times. The first time is we whisper it. I think of that as we're whispering to our soul. We're telling our soul this is what we want. The second time we speak it, which is just talking to ourselves. Anybody talk to themselves lately? I have. And the third one is we scream it out. We're going to tell God this is what we want. All right, ready? Let's do it together. I am free from limitations, unstoppable in God. Now, just regular voice. I am free from limitations and unstable in God. Let's just tell God what we want. I am free from limitations and unstoppable in God. So hold on to your chair. Yeah. And let's pray this in, knowing right here where we are, there's the infinite wisdom and love of God in this room, in this sanctuary, in this technology. Everywhere we are is this infinite presence that moves in our lives and as our lives and through our lives, and that we have no limitations. As we focus on the possibilities, it is revealed to us. We just continue to ask, what is it I need to know here and now? And so with that, I claim today that each of you, those online, those that are here, those that are listening on YouTube that we don't even know, and those that are going to listen to this talk later, that we know the way now. We know the conscious way of bringing forth the heart's desire, the purpose, whatever it is that we're searching for. And we bring it in and we say yes, and we keep working it and watching the activity of God moving in our lives and as our life. So I know this is a truth. I give thanks for this truth. And I release these words into the infinite law, the law of good, revelation, of revealing, of knowing. And just say yes. And join me in saying, and so it is. Amen. Have a seat. Yay.
Check.